we go. We are live. Good morning, everyone. I just thought I'd come on and say good day. Here. Just throwing up some vids. Just coming on and comments. I'll pop the comments up on this side. There we go. Just thought, come on and share some tips with still popped right down with that. Just thought I'll throw that up in there as well. It's not who's done that. 2 seconds. Who that is. And pop YouTube link up too. So yeah, so we're talking travel tips today, getting around Australia and how to get around. Sorry guys, that's not so cool. Just going to get some things ready while everyone comes in. Leave that for a sec. We're just waiting for a few people to come in. This was supposed to be last week's live stream, but I wasn't feeling 100% mentally, so. Oh. Okay, so. So, yep. Hey Liz, how are you? Just talking about travel around Australia and getting around to the Yeah, I know. I went to bed at midnight. I was up by 6 a.m, which is usually my standard 6 hours. I noticed you're having your match game live later, so I'll be there. Okay, today we're talking getting around travel tips today. So one of my I'll wait for that to go by. Okay, so today we're talking travel cards, cashless transport cards around. Ooh, settings. Camera. Don't mirror the camera. There we go. Got it. There we go. That's better. So what I've just showed there is a cashless, one of the many cashless cards. You just put money on these instead. So this one here is for Victoria, where Sean and Alana from the Down Under Cruises live. So this is the My Key. This one here is for where I live, as depicted by that logo right there. New South Wales. This is the New South Wales Opal card. And if you know Matt and Deb, hey, Jeremy and Cheryl, if you know Matt and Deb, this is the one for their part of the world. This is Deb and Matt and Deb from Matt and Deb Chat. This is the one for their part of the world, the TransLink Go card. And these cards are not interchangeable between states. I actually had someone get on a Go card service trying to use one of these. Suffice to say, it didn't work. You've got to have the correct state. You've got to have you've got to have the correct state's card. Now, you recharge these with money. You don't carry the money. The money's already preloaded onto them. There are apps you can use. Like I've got the actual app for this card here. I can actually hold the card to the back of. Hello, Sean. We're just talking about the rather trendy. If I can get this held right. My key. Then, yeah, so I'll hold this up using this. Will read to my phone via near-field communications. The near-field communication set up in the YouTube. I just better read that. I bet that's mine. Yeah. So no, I'm just sharing some tips, Sean. I'm just sharing a few tips for getting around here. So yeah, so I can get all my previous trip data, the balance on this through an app on here. I'll show you how it works anyway. Just the tip, Sean. Exactly this. Thank you. So how this works, and I'll show you. I'll get this phone unlocked. I don't want to open Discord. I just don't want to. So if this works for me is another story. I don't think it'll work on this phone. So hang on. I'll open the app and see where I can. The cover might be not helping. No, that's not working. It's not working. So that tells you that's this here. That there is my Opal card. It's telling you I've got $22. Oh, if we go home, it's telling you I've got $22.25 on there. Then the PTV, I've got to log in. I've got to remember how I've logged in. Got a username. I have to do it later. Each of these apps, there's apps for everything as well. Now to use these cards, all you've got to do is find so for example, with an Opal card, if you're using a bus, there's going to be readers. There's going to be two readers at the front of the bus. There's going to be one next to the driver and one just behind the first seat. So what you do is you go and tap this until it beeps and shows a green background with a white tick. That's your successful tap on. Get to your destination. You do the same to tap off, and your fare is deducted from the balance on the card. However, here in New South Wales, we have another option. If your Opal card is out of money and you haven't recharged it, just Sydney up to Newcastle, down to Wollongong, and out to Bathurst. Because I know this is statewide for you guys. I do know that much, and I believe this one is as well for Queensland. That's where I'm a bit annoyed. All our buses in our local area are all actually able to be use contactless payment modes, or you're allowed to pay using contactless mode. Yet these are not accepted. I reckon they should. It does, doesn't it? This is only the furthest west you can use it on the New South Wales Transport for New South Wales network is Bathurst. You can't use it on all the bus lines. Group buses are all contactless. However, you can't use them. You can't use this. tells you Opal card not accepted. Even on the Opal travel app, it tells you the same thing. So I don't use the Opal travel app for doing the regionals. I have another app called AnyTrip. Then I've forgotten the one in Adelaide. I know there's a Metro card in Adelaide, similar. Yeah, well, I can get to Bathurst, but then I've got to use the Trainlink coaches. So always do your research. Just understand that, as I said earlier, each state is not interchangeable. I remember the time there was a family from New South Wales asking a driver who was running a go-kart service, Translink go-kart service, whether they could use their New South Wales Transport for New South Wales Opal card on his service. And it's also vice versa. You can't use any of these interchangeably between states. Be good, but the way the cookie crumbles. So there in New South Wales, there's five of these that are different. So you've got a silver, each colour is specific to its role. There's a green one, which is a free bus school card. Then you've got the silver one, which is a child, which is half adult fare. This one, which is the adult. Then you've got the gold senior / pensioner. And then you've got one other one that we only get to see 4 out of the 5. It's also silver. It's an employee Opal card, which is for people who work for Transport for New South Wales and their families. I've only seen it because my sister actually has one through her husband, who works for Transport for New South Wales. I don't know whether it's the same with Victoria, because I believe it's the same for the first 4: the school, the child, the adult, and the pensioner. However, I'm not sure yet. See, the Opal card does buses, light rail, trains, and ferries. Currently, we're down a light rail vehicle in Sydney at the moment. Caught fire in the overhead equipment in the pantographs and that area. So they've pulled that out of service till they can work out what's going on. So yeah, so when I was in Sydney with young Nick, he was using his debit card, or his debit or credit card. So that's the other option you have within New South Wales. I don't know whether it's Queensland or Victoria as well. You can actually use, if you've got your card linked to your smartphone, to an iPhone or an Android phone, you can actually use that as well. I'll use a fine example of that. I actually had to catch a bus Thursday afternoon. So it is in Victoria, so I'm not sure. Yeah, that's good. So it's always a backup should you run out of money on your MyKey. Yeah, so again, so I had to catch a bus from East Dubbo to West Dubbo. I only had this at the time. So they all have the ability to, I believe all the buses in the fleet now have, in the Dubbo Bus Lines fleet, have that ability. I'm not 100% sure. All the town buses anyway. So what you do is you say where you want to go. The driver will tell you how much it is. So for me, it was one way from East Dubbo to east to west was $3.30 Australian, including GST. So you just tap your phone on the reader and you do your journey, which took me about a bit over half an hour to get from east to west, the most direct route. 572 Dubbo Arunamore to West Dubbo loop service. It's just a loop service. It starts at Arunamore, comes back to Arunamore. So that's all the different transport cards. I'm going to repeat this again. They are not state to state interchangeable. Whatever you have for your state will not work in, say for example, Opal will not work on a Go Card network. So that's the getting around is pretty easy too. You can, depending on where you are, you can choose buses, trains, taxis, private hire companies. Like, I'll use an example. I've got a friend who drives for a company in Brisbane called Blue Diamond Transfers. They're a private company. They can take you, say, from a hotel to the airport rather than you catching the air train, which is $18 for the Queensland, the Brisbane air train. It's $18. Sydney is $13 to catch the train from Central to the airport. Yeah, very similar, but it's not. There's no like tie-ins with a big brand name. All the money stays in their accounts rather than goes to the likes of Uber, and then a proportion goes to the drivers. That's why I prefer to support things like your local taxi co-ops. You're not sending a cut to Uber and that. So it just depends on whether or not I can get a taxi is another story. The taxis here are pretty good. I will say that. In Dubbo, pretty good. You don't talk to. Unfortunately, you've got to talk to a computer these days, which picks up where you are 90% of the time by if you're using your mobile phone or a cellular phone, they'll pick it up based on where you're pinging from. Buses here run every 20 minutes during the week, every 2 hours on a weekend. Public holidays, if they fall on a Monday. So Anzac Day, Easter Friday and Easter Monday, or Good Friday and Easter Monday will run to a Sunday timetable. All public holidays buses operate 7 days a week here now. They only used to operate 6 days a week. But because Transport for New South Wales realised that we didn't have enough public transport around Dubbo, they decided we will offer them the buses 7 days a week. 20 minutes during the week, 2 hourly during the weekends. Like if you've got something important to do, you'd always want to do it during the week when there's the 20 minutes, every 20 minutes. And then you've got school services coming in as well. A few of them actually link into a town run. The two that service us do not link into town runs. So so they all have all the, hey Jonesy, we're just talking travel tips here today. I was meant to do this last week, but I wasn't feeling 100%. So thought, don't have a live. If I'm not feeling right, I won't have a live. I just want to be sure I'm 100% for that live. So yeah, and the buses are really, really good. There's the odd bus that'll break down. Like I was coming back, I was halfway back home. I was almost to my destination when there was a radio call for a bus that had blown a radiator hose. Had to cancel. Bus 19. Bus 19. I can't use my tablet for the website I'm actually wanting because I'm talking to you guys on it. Bus 19. I don't know whether there is a bus 19 at Dubbo. See? Yeah, so it's blown a radiator hose and the drivers have managed to pull it up before it actually brought up the warning on the dash, because the minute that hose is let go, he smelt the coolant all over the hot engine and he's pulled up in time. So he's on the radio to the workshop. Can you guys bring me a radiator hose? I've done a radiator. It feels like I've done a radiator hose. Can you guys come out and have a look? Fortunately, where he's broken down is right out. Well, unfortunately, where he's broken down is right out front of a parts place. But they won't have a radiator hose for a Volvo bus. Volvo or Merc. I don't know which one that one is because I think it's a Volvo. So they won't have a part. They won't have that part. So you've got to go out, have a look. If you haven't got the part, you've got to drive all the way back to the other side of town to the local Volvo dealership, which just happens to be on the route I take to work, Western Truck Route. They do the truck. They do buses as well. And hope to God they've got one in stock. Hey Randy, how are you, mate? Yeah. So you pray to God they have one in stock. But I'm getting off tangent here. This is just how everything works. And if they haven't got one in stock, you've got to ring a tow truck. Can we get this bus covered back to the workshop at our depot, which is in it's in an aptly named street called White Street. Sits there till the hose shows up. I think they did have the hose in the parts storage at the depot, in the workshop at the depot, so they were able to go and fix and get it back on the road quickly. Now, tourist attractions. One thing I will always say with tourist attractions: do your research. Work out where your destination and have a look at what's there. One of the biggest things that I always say: research. Just because someone says it's not going to be good doesn't mean you're gonna. Randy, I think that's Liz. That'd be Liz. Chris has his own. That's Liz, Randy, I believe. Yeah, so tourist attractions. One person's experience may be negative. Don't look into it. Don't go on that one negative experience. Always go in with an open mind. There are places I've been that I'm right. Okay. Yes, the Carnival Cruise Addicts is Liz. Chris from Carnival Cruise Addicts. That's how I know. Yes, so tourist attractions, you go in with an open mind. Like, there are certain things that you will read online, certain posts that people put up, and then all the comments start coming in like rah, 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 rah. Whether that one post be negative and then all the comments just follow suit, you get a positive, it's all positive. Now, they are one of my biggest tips: Facebook. Look at the attractions page and go into either the mentions do either mentions or reviews or both. Always read both your reviews, your mentions, and anything that you can read into it. Excuse me. Itchy spot under the dirty soup strainer. Yeah. So once you've read, and if you like the place, go and visit. There's other ways of doing it. TripAdvisor is another one. If you know where the attraction you want to go to, look it up on TripAdvisor. There are certain places that I've been to that I've always looked up ahead of time. On TripAdvisor, always usually 4.8 to 5 stars. I always try and go to something that's 4 stars and above. 3 if it's got positive, anything below 4 if it's got positive reviews, I'll go there. Only then. So there was a place, and I'll show you this one, and I'm going to use an example here. Just bear with me. I've got to get out of that, get out of that, get out of that. I'll use one as an example. Not that one. This one here. So when you're looking, so on this one, this is one of the places I actually have been to this place. I'm going to go out of that and I'll turn my contrast down for a moment. So this is the Coffs Harbour Butterfly House. All right, Liz, stay safe, and I'll see you in the match game. So this is the Coffs Harbour Butterfly House. If we have a look further down here, it says 1,749 reviews with a 92% recommend rate. I always look at that as well. Oh, thanks, Sean. I actually have had that. I've had this in my mind for a while, ever since I restarted doing lives. I've wanted to do this. Travel tips is something that I've always, as a learner, as a seasoned solo traveler, and this is from a solo traveler's point of view, not a couple's or a group traveler. This is for a solo traveler. I prefer to do it from a solo point of view. So that way, if you want to do it first, do it on your own, then do it as a group or a couple. I was very fortunate with the trip when I went to the Coffs Harbour Butterfly House that I had a friend with me from the UK. So we had a good time. So yeah, always look at that. The best point of view to start is Facebook, because with all the way people can recommend places, those recommendations all add up and will help you make an informed decision. It's not hard to write a good review if you've had a good experience. Sorry guys, I've got an itchy eye. Yeah, so the one bad experience should not, how shall I put it? Should not concern you. That's that person's experience. It's the same with cruising. You go in with an open mind. Look at your reviews on TripAdvisor, look at your reviews on Facebook. Google is another one too that I love to use. Google, either via the Google Maps app or the Google website. Always do reviews there too. What else? Yeah, but don't book through a third-party website. Always book direct with the attraction itself. If you were doing the Sydney Harbour Bridge climb, book direct with them, because if you book through a third party, that third party is going to take a cut out of they're going to put their fees on and then take those fees off and then give that what the actual cost is to the main party you should be booking through. I have done a few, mainly accommodation through a third party source, which is booking.com. But I now realise that they charge the providers a fee for listing with them. So I try and avoid that like the plague now. I'm not sure how much it is, but it's quite substantial. But when booking tourist things, you wouldn't want to do it any other way. So when I came to, I'll use Melbourne, I always book ahead of time. Just got to find it. Where the beep and bloody. Beep bloody hell. Oh, there it is. So you're always booking your things like I'll show you all the. Where is that? There it is there. So all your different ways that you're getting to and from places as well, you always book ahead of time. So for example, if you were to book, and this is actually interesting, I'm in New South Wales and I was able to book a trip from Southern Cross to Marootna online through the V-Line website, and they sent me the ticket direct to my house up here in New South Wales. So I prefer V-Line's way of doing their ticketing. Here in New South Wales, it's boring. You print your e-ticket off on your e-tickets off on A4 paper, which you've got to throw away. Same with Firefly, A4 paper. which then you've got to throw away later on. But I've kept these ones for a reason. It was actually my first time I'd ever ventured outside of Melbourne. And the first time I actually ever decided to go somewhere where I had never been in Victoria. So, in a nutshell, always book. One of my biggest tips, always book direct with either your transport provider or your attractions or anything else. Accommodation's another big thing that I don't book through booking.com now. As I said, I prefer to book direct. Actually, and I'll show you when I stayed in Melbourne, I actually booked my accommodation direct with the accommodation provider down in, Sean will know where this is. Stayed at Mercure Welcome Melbourne. I decided to pay the extra and get the breakfast on top. So yeah, itemised account, which is really good. It's that way I know where the money went. Apart from that, always do your research. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost a research. It was beautiful. I'm going to stay there again. Just so it was right within the free tram zone, which I like too. And easier for you guys to drop me off there rather than somewhere else halfway across Melbourne. Yes, and I'll bring that up in 2024. I was lucky enough to meet Sean and Alana in person, like you did with Chris and Liz. How amazing was that? It was so good. And not just a word of advice, don't ever go into Costco with someone tall like Nick. I'll never forget that one. Little Asian lady, she wouldn't. As a side, I'm going to diverge away from I'm finished with the main topic now. So, yeah, I'm finished with the main topic now. So we can share a few little stories. Oh God, that was funny. This little Asian lady, she would have been all of about 5 foot zip, ring and wet. We're in the checkout behind her. The Costco checkout behind her, and she's looked at Nick, and her jaw has virtually hit the floor. Poor Nick made her look like a dwarf. But I'll tell you, that was the highlight of the Costco trip. And then again, where else are you going to buy your groceries? Then you can go order a coffin and a cremation urn, solar, tyres for your car, tyres and wheels for your car, and have a hot dog and a soft drink or soda in one location. Got to turn my contrast back up. I can see it's gone right down. That was so fun. When I walked in there, I thought I thought I was seeing things. To be honest, I just thought I was seeing things until I picked up the brochure on the coffins, and I'm like, I ain't dying yet. So there was no need for me to order a coffin or a cremation urn at that point in time. See, up here, we don't have Costco. I don't think they're coming out to the regional areas, but I would love to see a Costco where I live, because there'd be a lot of. Well, I got a friend who actually drives all the way to Marsden Park in Sydney to a Costco there. Oh, nice. No, you're right, Jonesy. You do you. I'll just talk away. I'll just talk away. Yeah, no. She goes to Marsden Park every couple of months. They've got a Nissan Patrol SUV, and she loads that up big time. And a friend of mine who drives for Firefly, actually, $500 a fortnight. And my other friend who drives for Firefly ends up having to fold the seats down in her Range Rover. She buys that much stuff. She's got a Range Rover. She has to fold the seats down. She ends up buying that much. I would prefer to have a Costco. I like buying in bulk. Oh, man, the Asian community in Dubbo. We actually have Indonesians working with us, and some of them are only 5'0" nothing, and I'm almost 6 feet. I'm 5'11". They're right. Yeah, no. Yeah, so yeah, so much. We're getting another Audi in town. It's a smaller one compared to our main one, because a lot of people. It's going on in Arana Mall. It's going to be smaller than the one that's down in Taubergar Street. For all the people that can't afford to drive down to. It's mostly New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland, Jonesy. So it's mostly they're all on the mainland at the moment. Don't ever underestimate the powers that be. Might show one up, yeah. No, second Audi in Dubbo is actually going to be like a Woolworths Metro style. It's just for those people who live over in East that don't want to drive all the way downtown to the centre of town to do it. So they've had to move the reject shop 4 shops inside the shop. No, we were lucky to get the first Audi we had. They were looking for a site, and the old rail goods yard in Dubbo had come up. The east end of the old rail goods yard had come up. Anyway, they bought that, but left the western side. So they've taken half the block where the rail yard used to be and converted it into their Dubbo store. The claims were that they couldn't transport the goods up. So that was their initial claim as to why they didn't come to Dubbo initially. But now they've got the contractor to do it. They are doing it. So they contract. So most of the Audi work is done by Ron Finnemore Transport. However, for some of the regional stores, like the stores they can't get to, they contract out with a company called Hunter and Northern Logistics. They do all the to Dubbo. I was talking to an Indian guy who was driving a new Volvo with a new German-built Schmitz Cargo Bull fridge van on, and he said, quite impressive. Yeah. So what else? Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I'm a bit tired at the moment. I might have a nap before the match game. Yeah. So we're getting a 4th McDonald's. The building's virtually built. All they've got to do is the interior fit out and the exterior landscaping and the parking areas. That's done. We're getting a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre that nobody really wanted in its current location. What else? What else is Dubbo getting? Dubbo's getting another supermarket, another shopping centre with was supposed to be a Woolworths, but it's actually a Coles. We've got 3 Woolworths, only 1 Coles. So the Coles is going into the new South Lakes shopping centre, because everyone in South Lakes ends up having to drive 3 kilometres to the nearest shopping centre. So now that this one's going in, they won't have to. 40 minutes already. I'm happy with that. So yeah. Excuse me. Another independently owned fast food place is opening up here too. It's owned by a couple of really awesome people that have been in the in the hospitality and retail food business for 3 decades. They did initially have one, but they ended up closing it for a while. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wind up here. I think I'm done for today. Next week will be just a random chat. Now, I may or may not be on. We'll see how I'm going. Just give you the heads up. All right, guys, I'm going to end this stream here. Stay safe. If you're in flooded areas, if it's flooded, forget it. Don't drive through floodwaters. You don't need a butt reaming from the SES or the police. Just stay safe, guys. All right, guys, I'm out. Talk next week. Bye for now.